All right, we're going to get started with our next panel. This one is called JPEGs in the Boardroom. And we're going to talk to 3 Web3 leaders that are building incredible companies in the space and hear a little bit about what it's like to build a business in Web3. So our first guest is Robbie Ferguson. He's the ImmutableX co-founder and president. Robbie, welcome. Next up, we have Ronis from Rarible. He's a growth marketing lead. He's also a part-time DGen and a strategic advisor for Seed AI, which is a nonprofit focused on unlocking the potential of AI. And finally, we have Balina from Tokenmetrics. He's the founder and CEO. Guys, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So, just to dig in a little bit, I'd like to, if each of you can just tell us a little bit about your company and your mission.
So the 30-second pitch is, Immutable is building the best NFT platform for minting or creating NFTs. The business built on Ethereum. We use zero-knowledge rollups, which are the future of scaling, and we allow you to trade NFTs completely gas-free. Right now, we just did a raise last week, which we announced. We raised $200 million at a $2.5 billion valuation. We're powering some of the blockchain's biggest games, everyone from Illuvium to Embersword to Guild of Guardians to Gods Unchained. We're building GameStop's NFT marketplace, which is really exciting. And we also have a ton of other marketplace integrations coming up, like OpenSea and some other ones that I'm sure we'll be excited to discuss as well. So, pleasure to be here, and thanks ATX for having us as well.
Cool. So, Rarible is a multi-chain NFT marketplace. We're one of the kind of OGs in the space. We are on Ethereum, Polygon, Flow, and Tezos. Solana's coming soon. A really cool layer 2 I hear is on the, I have a zero knowledge of what it might be, but I have proof that it's happening. Sorry for a dad joke. But yeah, we're in a marketplace. We're built for crypto natives, but you know, we understand that it's a multi-chain world, so the world is your oyster. Come mint at Rarible, and it doesn't matter what blockchain you're on.
And check out the gallery. They have a gallery at the back of the room.
All right. Hello, Austin. Who here has heard of Tokenmetrics? Show of hands? All right. Yeah, so Tokenmetrics is an AI platform that helps you find actionable investment insights through data. We have crypto ratings, we have crypto portfolios, and we have crypto content. And we also have a book called Crypto Investing Guide. So we help you build wealth in crypto using AI and data.
Fantastic. Well, why don't we get started here? I want to start kind of big and broad. The space, the Web3 space, it's growing quickly. There's a lot of opportunity. We started in a place that was primarily about cryptocurrency, and now we're moving into things like NFTs, into things like DAOs, ideas of decentralization that are spreading to all kinds of use cases and industries. So where do you see the big opportunities in this space for entrepreneurs that are looking to build a Web3 business?
I still think NFTs are a massive opportunity because it's not a category in and of itself. It's actually just the data standard by which we're going to own everything in the future. And so from NFTs are going to emerge verticals in gaming, as we've already seen, emerge in finance, emerge in tokenizing taxi medallions, pretty much any form of unique value, of which there is roughly 3 orders of magnitude more than there is fungible value in the world today, will eventually become NFTs. So if people come and talk to me, I say, yeah, obviously build an NFT startup because this is going to be the way that we trade everything in the future. And that doesn't need to look like expensive JPEGs. That can look like building the future infrastructure of trading term deposits and creating efficient global interest rates, or trading IP and returning better sort of royalty rates to artists globally. So that's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I would echo what Robbie said. I think gaming in particular, it's kind of like, it's the tip of the spear, you know, as far as I see it, for like Web3 kind of adoption. You know, it's the easiest kind of leap for the, you know, average consumer and both the crypto native to kind of connect the dots. And I think outside of that, I think token-gated communities are going to be huge. I mean, I think that's one of the benefits that come inherently with the Web3 space is the kind of community aspect. And with NFTs, you get that kind of like that token gated thing where it keeps the quality up and it keeps everybody engaged, and it's kind of like that mesh of like both financial incentive but also like community building. Like I've had some of the most meaningful, productive, and just like really awe-inspiring conversations in these kind of communities that are tied around an NFT. So and I think the last real big opportunity is tying it to real-world assets, which I think you touched on as well. There's a little bit of a misnomer, I think, of like an NFT is purely digital and it's in the meta. Anytime you say the metaverse, everybody has to take a shot at South by Southwest. But yeah, it's tying it to those real-world assets, for certificates of ownerships and like deeds. It's going to be huge. Like we're so, I hate to even say it, but we're so early.
We are early. Yeah. And Ian, your company is a little bit different because you're more traditional cryptocurrency and thinking about analytics, maybe not so much NFTs, but where do you see the big opportunities?
So I think NFTs have been transformational for crypto. They've helped crypto go mainstream. They've helped crypto cross the chasm. Because initially cryptocurrencies and this entire space was people mainly in investing or in tech. But now you have creators, you have artists, you have musicians, you have people from all walks of life. Crypto has become more diverse through NFTs because NFTs is really taking culture and tokenizing that, taking communities, something that is huge for anybody in the world. Because how does somebody relate to investing or to technology? But now anybody can relate to culture. Culture is being human. And NFTs have taken being human and brought it into Web3 and tokenized that.
Absolutely. No, love that. I think we've heard a lot about, it's difficult for users to get into crypto. The UX is broken. We don't have the greatest onboarding tools yet. And, we could probably go down that rabbit hole. That's not what I want to focus on. What I'm curious about is as an entrepreneur, as a company builder, as somebody who is leading large teams and building innovation, what's different about Web3 and challenging about Web3 that you didn't anticipate?
I'm not sure where the lyrics from. Does this work? This one doesn't work. Hello? There we go. Definitely the hardest thing is building smart contracts. Like, they're absolutely terrifying. When we first started out the company, they are so tricky to build. And so some of the first engineers we hired were people who literally worked on hardwiring machines that went to people's hearts, because you can never take them out. So they have the same kind of characteristics around. You have to make sure the code is perfect and immutable, and be very careful about upgrading policy. And that's exactly why we built an API-based interface for building NFTs, is people should not have to go through that trouble. If you're doing an integration, if you're going to build NFTs, it should be ridiculously easy to use, like building on Stripe or something any Web2 developer can do. So that's definitely my pain point and what we're trying to solve with ImmutableX as well.
Is it working? Okay, cool. Woo! I would say that the level of dependencies are hard, like, because it's not just what you're working on. There's so many other layers to it. I think if you have like an amazing product, there's still like the who's building on it and what are they doing right. I think as a very relevant example, I remember the first time I minted something on Immutable, and it was transcendent. Like, I was like, no, not to blow smoke, but I mean, like, no gas fees, super fast. It was great. And then, like, the third time I minted something, it was a nightmare, but nothing wrong with what you guys did. It was who worked on it, just built a bad platform on it. So kind of having those dependencies are hard. There's like, it's already so insider baseball, and then you have to hope that everybody's executing at that high level. And then I think finding that balance between centralized and decentralized, there's not really the guardrails that I think where I feel for OpenSea when you have like this big hack and they're like, oh, take this back. And it's like, well, that's not the tenets of decentralization, but also
there's also no definitive line.
Right.
There's, yeah.
And you want to protect consumer rights. So like, it's so Wild West right now, which is exciting, but can be terrifying for people. So it's an interesting problem to have.
And Ian, what's been difficult for you or unanticipated while you're building Tokenmetrics? What came up that surprised you?
Oh, I mean, everything's been difficult in crypto because crypto is so innovative. For example, if you take Bored Apes, in 1 year they went from 0 to $5 billion valuation. Right? So in crypto, the growth is massive and it's fast. So being able to recruit technology, legal, regulation, community building, having to do all that while moving 1 million miles per hour is incredibly difficult. But it's also what makes it great and makes it exciting.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, we all know that 1 year in crypto is like 5 years in real life, right? So let's dig into that for a minute. So this constant pace of change, it's kind of a furious pace of innovation. When you're building a company, you obviously can't do everything yourself, so you're building teams. You're hiring talent. You're competing in a market that, there's a hiring war going on for crypto people. So what are you doing at each of your companies to not only try to source the best talent of people that know Web3, but also encouraging people who are experts in Web2 to maybe cross the divide and be able to add value to your companies?
I'll go. So I would say the main thing is showing them a vision and where you're trying to go in the next 5 to 10 years, and having them buy in on that vision. Having them buy in on how you plan to go out there and change the world.
I think not limiting yourself to just people who are working in Web3, because even for anything that's not junior, it's not even really possible to find someone with 4 to 5 years of experience. Crypto, the state of crypto now is light years ahead of where it used to be. With the level of where smart contracts are. 5 years ago it was cool, we're all Bitcoin is a store of value and that's it. So I think not limiting yourself to that and really engaging in your social channels to find people who have the skill sets who match the job descriptions, but have an interest, which it's hard to convey on a resume in such a nascent technology. So making sure you're willing to kind of take that leap for someone who is qualified as a developer or marketing manager, etc. As long as if they love the juice, let them take a squeeze.
Right. Yeah. Well, and one sec. So everybody, if you're at the back of the room and you're having a conversation, it's really distracting and loud for the panel. So either take it to the room or let's quiet it down a little bit. Thank you.
Yeah, so Immutable is nearly 200 people today. We want to grow to 400 people by the end of the year. In order to get there, you have to do some pretty crazy stuff to scale. The first thing we did was we raised referral rates to $20,000 US for the majority of our roles. So if you refer someone and we want to hire them, you just get paid a good chunk of your yearly salary just for telling us about them, which worked really well, and a bunch of our hires have come from referrals. The other thing is you've got to identify what adjacent industries have the skill sets you're hiring for. And so often, especially with really senior roles, we just look for who has done a really, really good job in the Web2 world. Because you're not going to find an experienced executive who's scaled a large company who has Web3 experience. It's very, very rare. And we just hired one who was Justin Hulo, who is general manager at Riot Games, and he's just been obsessed with crypto in his private time pretty much for the past 2 years. And that's really what the best thing you can hope for at that level is people are really personally passionate about crypto. But you've got to look for adjacent skill sets.
Dude, we're at South by Southwest. If you said that any longer, a Dell executive would have fell through the window and attacked you. It's awesome that but that's a good point. But you're I have a lot of friends who work at the big tech, Web2 tech companies, and they're a little salty. A lot of people, they're coming in droves, and they're like, guys, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know, building the future. What do you want from us?
Well, on the employee side of things, and this goes along with the pace of innovation, it takes a lot to keep up in this industry. You're in it 24/7, right? It's an industry that doesn't sleep, it doesn't take breaks. So for your employees that are trying to stay connected, at some point, you're dipping into people that are just coming into the space, you're selling them on the vision, and they're starting to, is there any resistance to being connected 24/7, or are you doing anything in your culture to balance that out for people that are just getting started so they're not constantly drinking from the fire hose?
Yeah, I don't think people should have to work 24/7. That's not a sustainable culture, 100%. I do think it's really good to give them literally 1 or 2 months where they don't have to do their job and they can just absorb everything to do with crypto culture. Because a lot of the paradigms we're used to are very, very different in Web3. marketing paradigms are completely different. Like we have a game with hundreds of thousands of users, Gods Unchained, and we spend almost $0 in paid marketing, which is completely, absurd to someone who comes from a traditional marketing space. But the truth is, with token incentives and with kind of share to earn incentives, you have this viral culture, and it's this new way of inventing marketing. So I think it's really important for people to get the time to adjust to that without just being shoved into the role. We don't do that perfectly. We've got a lot of seats to fill, but as much as you can, letting people do that is what lets them succeed in the role.
Yeah, I think it's a good point because it is hard. Like, when you're out, you're like, oh my God, what happened in this 3 years I was out? But I think it's important for us to not bring that kind of toxic hustle culture of Web 2 with us. So I think it's what we do I think really well at Rarible is we take advantage of the hive mind where every Friday when the entire company meets, we go over what the news of the week is and why it's important, and we have an open discussion about it. And I learn all kinds of stuff from there. I present stuff in there. It comes back and forth. So it kind of it spreads the load. It makes it a little easier to kind of keep up for something that is just happening so fast, which is exciting, but also can be tiring if you're not leaning on the entire group.
So we can't talk about hiring without asking, are your companies hiring?
Oh, yes.
Oh my
absolutely.
God, yes.
Go to tokenmetrics.com/careers. We're hiring for all roles.
And I assume Rarible and Immutable as well?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, we have 100 open roles, so please just search Immutable Lever in Google, come apply, come refer your friends. We'll pay you $20,000. I'm not kidding, so please do.
So final question for the night, and thank you again for the time and sharing your insight. What do you think we're going to look back on in 10 years as a company builder, and you're going to say, wow, this is what was different about being a Web3 company?
Aligned incentives. I think Web3 is the first time you can have capitalism and profit-making or company-making incentives that are actually aligned with your end consumers. Every single other one, by definition, is impossible to create. But because the incentives that mean a Web3 company can be successful are around sharing ownership and essentially aligning what your goals are with end users, you can fix the problems with capitalism and the problems with profit incentives everywhere. So that's the thing that, to me, fundamentally differentiates Web3 from every other company before. And not every Web3 company does that, but that is possible in Web3, which has never before been possible.
Yeah, I would echo similar energy. I mean, how we've kind of really changed the definition of ownership. We kind of it's really a lot of what Web3, especially in NFTs, is kind of flipping it. It's giving everybody a vested interest, where I think it kind of matches the marketing materials of a lot of society, where it kind of makes that reality. And I think it's that mindset shift when it really kind of permeates all of society. And not everything is going to make sense to be decentralized. Nobody at me on Twitter. I think I'm a true believer in Web3. But I think even the things that don't make sense to decentralize, the effects on all of these economies that Web3 is going to have, that's going to permeate. And I think it's going to be some really powerful societal shifts. And I think it's an exciting thing. And we're going to look back, and I think we really understand the magnitude of where we are and what we're doing and what we're building.
Yeah, so looking 10 years forward, being a Web3 company to me will be becoming a viable part of somebody's life, but not just in the physical world, but also in the digital world, right? So in the same way with Web 2, how Facebook was so intertwined with everybody's daily life and social media, Web 3 is taking all of that and putting it in the metaverse, in the digital world. Digital identities through NFTs, communities through DAOs, right? So having that become part of their life online is Web 3.
Well, thank you all for your insights tonight. Big round of applause for our panel. The time has come. ATX, you ready to party? You ready for
Let's
Tokyo
party.
Monster? All right. Let's do it. LFG.